a guide for the soul after death. Have you ever wondered if death is truly the end, or merely the opening of a more intricate, invisible passage? Within the folds of the Bardo Thodol, known in the West as the Tibetan Book of the Dead, lies a manuscript so enigmatic that its very existence whispers of truths veiled from the modern mind. This ancient text, attributed to the legendary master Padmasambhava, was not written for the living body, but for the departing soul. It is not merely a book. It is a metaphysical compass, a map of the cosmic terrain one must traverse after the final breath has been drawn. Within its sacred pages, we find not doctrine, but guidance. Guidance through realms the eyes cannot see, and yet the spirit remembers. Woven through it is the essence of Sabadoria Ancestral, encoded in a language only those attuned to the deeper frequencies of existence can comprehend. Padmasambhava, often regarded as the second Buddha in Tibetan tradition, was no ordinary spiritual teacher. His presence is wrapped in legend. Some say he arrived in Tibet on a lotus flower, others that he mastered life and death through a hidden science lost to the ages. What he left behind was more than teachings. He left a key to the soul's liberation. The Bardo Thodol does not speak of heaven or hell in linear terms, but of bards, intermediate states where consciousness floats, unanchored by flesh. In these realms, the soul is naked, exposed not to judgment, but to its own reflections. Here, the mysterious occultos of existence are laid bare, and one's fate is not decreed, but chosen, if one can see through the illusion. What makes the Bardo Thodol so distinct among textos prohibidos and esoteric scriptures is that it was never meant to be read in life alone. It was to be recited beside the dying, whispered like a cosmic incantation to guide the soul toward the clear light. That light, luminous and formless, is the first vision that greets the departed, a blinding, benevolent void pulsing with energia cosmica. But therein lies the paradox. The soul must recognize it to be liberated, and yet most cannot. The mind, conditioned by earthly fears, recoils. It clings to memory, to identity, to unfinished desires. The soul, in its confusion, turns away from its own salvation. Thus, the Bardo Thodol becomes not just a guide, but a mirror. It reflects back to the traveler the true nature of all things, ephemeral, mind-made, and eternally fluid. The deities encountered in its descriptions, both wrathful and serene, are not external beings, but internal manifestations of karma and emotion. This is where the alchemia interior begins, where fear can be transmuted into freedom, where illusion can dissolve into clarity. Padmasambhava's wisdom urges us to prepare now in this very life, not with dogma, but with awareness. For when death arrives, it brings no certainty, only the stage upon which consciousness plays its final act. But perhaps the greatest revelation held within this sacred book is the idea that death is not a failure of life, but its continuation. It is a crossing, not into the unknown, but into the essence of the known forgotten. As we follow this soul's journey deeper into the Bardos, we will come to understand the architecture of transition itself. What lies beyond the light? What forces shape the soul's next incarnation? To answer these questions, we must enter the next veil of mystery, the realm where the mind itself becomes the canvas of divine visions. And there, the true dance of liberation begins. The three main Bardos, intermediate states. To grasp the hidden structure of the afterlife, one must first understand that death is not a single moment. It is a sequence, a cosmic unfolding of consciousness through three sacred phases known as the Bardos. These are not places, but states of awareness, dimensions within the soul itself. Each bardo unveils a different layer of reality, stripping away illusion and challenging the traveler to see beyond the veil. The Chikai Bardo, the first of these, stages, begins at the very moment of physical death. It is here that the soul encounters the clear light, a primordial brilliance that reveals the truth of existence. It is a radiance so pure that it dissolves all boundaries, and yet few recognize it. Why? Because the mind, burdened by lifetimes of attachment and fear, turns away from this illumination. The opportunity for illuminação spiritual appears and vanishes like a whisper. The clear light is not merely a phenomenon, it is the pure essence of the cosmos, the mirror of one's highest self. In this state, time and form dissolve. The soul, if ready, can merge with it and be liberated forever from the cycles of rebirth. This is the gift of the Sabidoria ancestor embedded within the Chicay Bardo. But those unprepared are drawn back into the maze of self, where the next Bardo, the Chonyid Bardo, takes hold. This is the Bardo of visions, and here the soul is no longer met with light but with form, divine, terrifying, beautiful, and grotesque. These manifestations are not external entities, but symbolic expressions of the mind's karmic imprints. Peaceful deities reflect love, compassion, and wisdom. Wrathful ones echo suppressed fears, guilt, and ignorance. The Chonyid Bardo is a landscape of mirrors, where the soul must face what it has hidden from itself. Every vision is a projection, crafted by memory, sculpted by intention. And yet, if one can maintain awareness, even amidst the storm of forms, the path to liberation remains open. These encounters, though fearsome, are invitations for alchemia interior, to transmute fear into insight, to see wrath as misunderstood. Compassion. This is the mystical theater where one's emotional residues surface in symbolic form, begging for resolution. It is here that many souls become ensnared, confusing the visions for reality, forgetting they are within their own dream. And so the journey continues, often unknowingly, into the third Bardo. The Sidpa Bardo, also called the Bardo of Becoming, is the final gate before rebirth. If the previous opportunities for liberation are missed, the soul now drifts toward a new incarnation drawn by karmic winds and unconscious desires. In this realm, one begins to see scenes of earthly life once more, flashes of potential parents, sensations of longing, of seeking embodiment. The soul, still untethered, is magnetized toward resonance, pulled into wombs aligned with its vibrational frequency. This is where Energia Cosmica becomes destiny and karma takes form. But even here, if lucidity arises, the cycle can be broken. Detachment becomes the sword that severs the thread of blind reincarnation. The wise soul remembers, these visions are invitations, not obligations. Each bardo is a gate, and each gate offers a choice cloaked in symbols. The journey through death is not random, but responsive. It echoes the internal landscape cultivated during life. The ancient mystics knew this, and through textos prohibidos, like the Bardo Thodol, they offered blueprints for the soul's passage. Yet these teachings were hidden, not because they were untrue, but because they were too powerful for the unprepared. Now, as we draw closer to the edge of the final veil, we must ask, if rebirth is not the end, then what awaits the soul that awakens? What destiny unfolds when one masters the art of dying consciously? The answer lies in the sacred paradox that death itself is the doorway to ultimate freedom. Death as an opportunity for liberation. What if death was never meant to be feared, but revered? What if, instead of an ending, it was the most sacred of all thresholds, a cosmic invitation to awaken? In the eyes of Tibetan mysticism, death is not failure, but a test of mastery. It is the moment where all illusions are laid bare, and the soul stands before its truest essence. The Bardo Thodol whispers this truth like a forgotten chant through time. Death is the mirror that reflects our spiritual preparation. Through meditation, inner reflection, and the cultivation of awareness, we refine the vessel of consciousness. And it is through this refinement that one begins to glimpse the hidden grace within the shadows of impermanence. Here lies the Sabadoria ancestral past through lineages of silent monks and cave-dwelling sages. Wisdom that death, when faced with lucidity, can become the key to liberation. The fear of death, deeply embedded in modern consciousness, arises from the illusion of finality. But the Mysterios Occultos reveal that nothing truly ends. Energy only transforms, reconfigures, dances to a different rhythm. To prepare for death, then, is not to prepare for loss, but for recognition. The mind must learn to recognize its own creations, to pierce through the projections of fear and desire that cloud the Chonyid Bardo, and to embrace the clear light without recoil. This preparation begins now, while alive. Through meditation, one practices dying, letting go, dissolving ego, merging with the infinite. It is a sacred rehearsal, a conscious descent into the unknown, where one learns to navigate the invisible. In doing so, the soul cultivates the power to remain lucid, even as the physical body falls away. This journey is the highest form of alchemia interior, the transmutation of ignorance into awareness, of fear into clarity. It is not about escape, but transcendence. Liberation in this context is not granted by external forces, but discovered within. The Bardo Thodol teaches that every vision, every deity, every sensation after death is a reflection of the mind. Recognize this, and you are free. Forget it, and you wander. And so, the seeker must train the mind to remain aware through all fluctuations. This is not merely spiritual practice, it is survival beyond form. It is the art of soul navigation across the landscapes of the unseen. Those who succeed dissolve into the clear light. Those who do not return, reborn, recycled through samsara until memory is lost and the wheel turns once more. But within this apparent cycle of return lies a hidden window, a crack in the structure of reality. If, even for a moment, the soul recognizes its dreamlike state, it can awaken. That is the gift and the danger of the Bardos. They are realms of raw potential, where creation and illusion blend. To master them is to master the architecture of consciousness itself. This is why the Bardo Thodol was considered among the textos prohibidos, not because it deceives, but because it reveals too much. The knowledge within it empowers the soul to escape the artificial boundaries imposed by ignorance and fear. The energy cosmica that governs rebirth can be harnessed, redirected, and ultimately transcended by those who dare to remember who they truly are. As we emerge from this revelation, we must reflect. If death is not a failure, but a passage of potential, then life itself becomes the training ground for divine awakening. Each breath, each choice, each moment of stillness is preparation. The key mystics have shown the path, but only the inner seeker can walk it. Now that we've uncovered the architecture of death, the next question arises like a riddle echoing through eternity. Who or what is it that reincarnates, and how is the next life chosen? The next mystery awaits in the spaces between lives. Where does the soul go when the body draws its final breath? Does it vanish into the void, or does it step through a hidden gateway few have dared to cross? What if I told you that there exists an ancient manuscript, older than memory itself, that maps the exact stages your consciousness travels after death? This is not a theory. It's a forbidden knowledge, kept alive only in whispered traditions and secret rituals. Welcome, soul traveler. Today, we open the sacred pages of the Bardo Thodol, the mysterious Book of the Dead, from the depths of Tibetan Buddhism. But be warned, what you're about to hear is not taught in temples, nor spoken in everyday circles. It is part of a lineage of Sabadoria ancestry, encrypted in symbols, transmitted through energy, and guarded through centuries of silence. Together, we will unravel the misterios ocultos that await beyond the final heartbeat, realms where your karma dances before you, where divine visions emerge from the shadows of your own psyche, and where liberation or reincarnation hinges upon a single moment of awareness. This is the realm of the Bardos, and it holds the key to your Illuminação Espiritual. So stay until the end, for what you'll discover might just change the way you live and the way you die. Tap into the alquimia interior that lies dormant within you, and awaken the knowledge long buried by textos prohibidos and sacred scrolls that speak of the energy cosmica flowing between death and rebirth. Before we begin, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with those who sense there's more to life and death than we've been told. Now, let the journey beyond the veil begin. Now that you've glimpsed the sacred path the soul walks after death, the question remains: what will you do with this knowledge? Will you allow it to fade like a forgotten dream, or will you let it transform the way you perceive life, death, and the mysterious space in between? Perhaps death is not the end, but the ultimate teacher, one that invites us to awaken long before our final breath. And if the journey of the soul is shaped by awareness, what choices are you making today that echo into eternity? Tell me, what do you believe truly happens when we die? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone. Let this be a space where seekers gather, where old souls remember, and where the silence of the beyond finds voice. If this knowledge stirred something inside you, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. And of course, subscribe to the channel to continue this exploration of Sabedoria Ancestral, Misterios Ocultos, and the true nature of consciousness. Until then, walk gently, live deeply, and remember, you are more than this life.